Hello everyone and welcome back to Blaster Master 03. So we got our ability to drive up walls. We are now the Batmobile. Huzzah.
I don't think the Batmobile looks like the way the tank goes up walls, though.
I like how, back in my day, the Batmobile was just a fancy car. But obviously, now that we're taking our superheroes so seriously for some reason, we can't just have a superhero who's just a guy. So
Now, have you seen the Matt Reeves Batman trailer? His Batmobile is just a souped up car.
Yeah, and isn't his symbol just the gun that shot his parents, or did they change that?
No, I think that's still there.
Is this an actual
Yeah, basically Bruce hunted down the gun Joe Chill used, smelted it down, and made it the symbol on his chest.
Yeah, this is the one with Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne.
I hate it. Okay.
Well, you know. I'm not really sure how to feel about that.
About the gun?
I think the gun or Robert Pattinson.
Both.
Robert Pattinson will do a fine job. He just keeps getting typecast in people's minds because of Twilight.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know he's a good actor. I'm not really sure about him as Batman, is the thing.
I'm not really. I mean, I think everybody already knows my stance on DCU stuff at this point, so I don't want to go to God. Freaking Robo Eves with their grabby hands. I hate it. Stop. Leave me alone.
I guess I just have I guess I'm just tired of modern Batman movies and stuff trying to redefine the characters just because Heath Ledger did a really good job at that once.
It's not even that. It's the fact that they keep basically rebooting him every couple of years. He has the same issue Spider-Man had.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that. But what annoys me is that every time they do, they seem to be trying to be really. Oh, you fell into the corner there, didn't you?
Yep.
They seem to be trying a little too hard to be unique. When Spider-Man rebooted, the only real difference was that Peter Parker was a little less nerdy in one of his incarnations. There wasn't really that much of a difference.
Well, that was something that I did like about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, at least as an exploration of a different kind of nerd, not the Urkel kind of snot-nosed kind of nerd, but the kind of socially awkward sort of nerd, which we hadn't really seen before.
Yeah,
that I thought was interesting. It just kind of failed on a number of other factors.
Yeah.
I feel like Garfield was a better Spider-Man than he was a better Peter Parker, and Tobey Maguire was a better Peter Parker than he was a Spider-Man. So,
I don't like Peter Parker. I don't like Tobey Maguire as any kind of Spider-Man at all. I honestly I think he's quite bad in modern day looking at it, but I know that might not be a popular opinion. I mean, that.
his general act did work well as normal Peter Parker, who's not very good with people. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But my point is, regardless of quality, Spider-Man pretty much stuck close to the core concept of Spider-Man. In all of his movie incarnations, it was just a different take on the same character. It's like if we had 3 Iron Mans and they were all just different flavors of oh god, what's the actor's name?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, if they were all just different flavors of Robert Downey Jr., you know? Whereas with Batman, it kind of feels like every new Bruce Wayne and every new Joker is trying to be a completely different character now.
There's a middle ground between them. That's one of the big problems with a lot of the kind of sidey sort of stuff that's been happening in Marvel lately is that the Tony Starks have had a hard time feeling distinct because they're all trying their best to do a Robert Downey Jr. impression.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really work.
Well, I mean there's an impression, but that's a different kind of problem.
The same thing happened to Jonah Jameson, where everyone's just doing a J.K. Simmons voice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, the way that particular actor portrayed Jameson was itself very close to the way you would read him straight out of the comics. So,
yeah, it's just kind of, Yeah,
I mean, any Jameson.
J.K. Simmons is just the perfect J.K.
Yeah, it kind of is. But like, I guess I just wish they would stop trying to graft these completely different characters onto Batman and the Joker. It was especially egregious in Suicide Squad. That Joker is just no, please.
I mean, all those Jokers more or less do have some iteration in the comics, though. Maybe not that.
Yeah,
but
the three Joker storyline is weirdly good.
I mean, yeah, but on the other hand, I don't know.
Oh, it's completely unnecessary, but they did about as well as they could with the concept.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, someone came up with this concept while writing the comics, and then someone else had to clean up after it, so you might as well do it well. But, like, that's collaborative storytelling for you. It's just like everyone with the Batman and Joker stories, it feels like everyone is trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle that the Dark Knight gave us, and I kind of wish they just stopped. We had one very different Joker that was really good. I think that's enough.
Honestly, that's the problem, is that they tried to not only just do that for Batman, but they tried to do that for Superman, which put the whole DC into
well,
the
Superman thing is a result of people not liking Returns.
I know, but they also wanted to
I liked Man of
emulate
Steel. I thought that was a fine movie.
Even
if the ending falls apart.
I like Man of Steel well enough cinematically. Like, I'm all down for a serious take on Superman, where the superhuman powers are really like up front and in your face in the portrayal. But there's the little problem where it was kind of ripping off the plot beats of Batman Begins half the time, and it's little hard
I have
to
a lot
ignore.
more. Man of Steel has a lot of problems, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, but like,
entirely.
Do you mean like the part where he doesn't save his father because his father said not to? Do you mean
Oh,
the
yeah,
part where
because,
he says
you know-
he's not going to destroy anything and then destroys half the city? Like,
Yeah,
like it's an enjoyable popcorn flick, but it's got its problems, but it's still an enjoyable popcorn flick.
Like, I'm not gonna.
I don't know. I mean, I found most of the action scenes to be kind of too depressing, honestly, to really like kind of turn my brain off and enjoy them. I guess is the problem. Like, if it wanted to be light and fluffy, and then it would kind of it would work a little bit better.
It's one of those things where people wanted, after Returns, they wanted the big spectacle of Superman using his powers and all that. And the thing is, if you have Superman using his powers, there's going to be collateral damage.
Yeah. I feel the whole point of Man of Steel was that it wants to be like happy and optimistic, but it also says like, that's not actually possible, right?
They really just should have.
You can only do so much when you're this powerful.
They really should have just like taken the Superman animated series as a baseline and then dialed it up a notch a little from there, rather than going entirely hog wild the way they did. But, like, at the same time, I'm kind of... I'm gonna be that guy. I still prefer it over Returns.
Yeah, Returns' character is fine. It's just he has nothing to do powers-wise, so it's kind of a dull movie.
They were kind of trying to emulate the feel of the old Superman movies, but the old Superman movies feel the way they do because there were limits on how far they could go with Superman at the time. Yeah. So at the time Returns was made, it kind of came off as cinematically weak in comparison to everything else being made around the time.
It's also a sequel that's not needed. It's a sequel to a 20-plus-year-old movie at that point. Like, you could have left well enough alone, especially considering the last Superman movie they did wasn't considered good. Superman 4 was not considered a good movie.
Oh boy.
What's interesting what they've been doing now, because basically a number of years ago they did Batman 66 as a book form, and that went over really well. So what they've been doing now is they've been continuing both the Reeves movies and Batman 89's universe as comic form.
Interesting. That's kind of like the way that's kind of like the state that Doctor Who was in for like 20 years. Is like the Eighth Doctor was introduced in a movie that no one liked. And it failed to reboot the series the way they wanted it to, so they just like continued the Eighth Doctor's adventures in novel form for a while. So you had this really obscure series of books that were just continuing the series where it left off. Like, if you just watch the show, it's really weird how there's this one Doctor who has like no episodes and just some really kooky movie with not Albert Wesker as the bad guy for some reason. But then you get into the expanded universe stuff, and it's like, wow, the Eighth Doctor has more adventures than any of the other Doctors, actually. It's a little weird. Oh, boy.
Alright, so now plot-wise, we're now on the hunt for 4 key cards. Yay.
Oh, great. That's...
Yeah. So this is the Metroidvania backtracking requirement that they snuck in here.
God, we're doing the Metroid Prime thing. Anyone got any more tangents?
It's not as bad because there's fast travel. It's not as bad because there's fast travel.
Okay, that's I suppose
each map except for Strangia has like an area you couldn't access in the past that leads to a key card.
I get it. I understand, but like we've had years and years and years of game design lessons to learn from. Why do they keep doing this? Why can't we just go from objective to objective? Maybe shake it up by letting you do multiple objectives in different orders if you want to.
It's because you have to gatekeep somehow, so you can't just go literally everywhere.
Yeah, because there's technically not much game after you get the key cards. Technically.
Yeah, but like, there's more. There are more interesting ways to gatekeep. Is what I'm saying. Alright, well, I mean, if the basic structure is just complete 4 objectives, frame those objectives in a more interesting way. Make them different objectives rather than one objective in 4 parts, you know?
Honestly, it works a little bit better in a game like Metroid Prime because you're zigzagging around the map a lot more, so you're more likely to find it as you go, and you can find some of them as you go. I tend to prefer that a little bit more versus, you're at the end. Actually, you need to go back to everywhere and find these things that
also, you'll never guess what's in this part of the game. Boss rush!
Oh my boy, it's the best one in the game. I love it so much.
This is another thing I wish game designers would stop doing.
But it's retro to do it this way.
You know, the reason they did that is because they wanted to squeeze more game time out of less assets because they had like 3 months to make their games back then.
Yeah, it's like at this point the only series that can get away with doing boss rush is Mega Man.
Ugh.
And that's just because it's just tradition for that series, so you kind of have to have it.
I mean, you can say the same for this. Like, they've had a boss rush in all 3 of the games.
I mean, it was tradition for Devil May Cry at one point, too. It wasn't good there, and they stopped doing it eventually. The only one...
I think 4 did it pretty good.
4 did it terrible. The only one that did it... The only one that did it okay was 3. And that's because they turned the boss rush into...
4's whole point was you went back as Dante and kicked everyone's ass and then got even better weapons.
No, and
I think it's more he's talking about the dice game.
Look, look, that wasn't the boss rush. The boss rush in 4 was the dice game in Mission 19, where you played the dice game and then you fought the boss once you got your piece to the end. And it was either aggravate.
3.
No, 3 was the one
3
where...
had some weird statue thing. I thought that was the dice game.
What 3 had was this sort of weird dimension thing where you had to light up 3 lights or 4 lights or however many lights it took to like make a circle on the design. So you had to figure out which bosses went to which light, and then you fought those and only those, or you could fight them all if you really wanted to. And then, you know, once you did that, you unlocked the way and you finished the mission. 4 was just dice game, boss, dice game, boss, dice game, boss.
I literally do not remember that dice game. I must have blocked that out of my mind completely. I thought you were talking about the fact that Dante refights all the bosses in Neurophon. I'm like, no, that's the cool thing about it.
Well, Dante was supposed to have his own set of bosses and his own set of levels, but development hell happened. So that's disappointing for another reason. But
save it for another time. We're at the end of the part.
Yes.